Welcome, everybody, inside the coach's office. I'm your host, Dan Murphy, along with my co host, Brian Barnes. And Brian, man, a wild game at Ford Field today. The Lions get an overtime winner against the Giants, 34-27. It was looking pretty scary there for the Lions for a while. They were down 10 in the fourth quarter. Just kind of an ugly performance for them for the most part. But when they absolutely needed some plays to be made, they were able to make some plays and they were able to pull this one out. What are your thoughts initially here, Brian?
Yeah, when we talked last time, I really thought it was a bounce back week and they were going to be extremely motivated to play well because they had a frustrating loss the week before. And we talked about the importance of these next 3 games at home. And I thought, man, they were just going to be coming and be rocking and just getting after it and take it to a pretty bad football team record wise. Right. And that obviously wasn't the case. It's possible, even in the NFL, there's going to be letdowns. They obviously did not start out the game very well. And it was sloppy throughout. And even really until overtime, like, don't kid yourself, it didn't feel like they were awesome in any way, shape, or form. So just the initial thoughts. I got a list here, Dan, but initial thoughts, I thought they would be more ready to play. But like the title says, a win is a win, and it's the NFL, and the Giants are coached up too and motivated too. And so, being at 7-4 right now isn't the end of the world, but gosh, if they had lost and be 6-5, and 2 of their losses are to the Vikings and the Giants, and it's like, oh,
At home,
and they're looking outside, looking into the playoffs. Like, man, you're just kicking yourself over that. But that's not the case. They're going to wake up tomorrow morning after a win and getting ready for a big game on Thursday.
Yes, there's a lot of negatives that we can hit on, but let's start with the positives though, because they did win this game, move to 7-4, keep pace with the Packers and Bears, who unfortunately both won today as well. The Eagles actually did lose just before we came on. They fell to Dallas, blew a 21-point lead, so really keeps things pretty close across the board in the NFC. And it's just, man, what a race it is, and what a race it's going to continue to be in the NFC across the board. I mean, there's 8 teams that are really battling it out. Nobody's really running away with it, and nobody's really dropping off. Currently, the Lions are still on the outside looking in, which is wild as a 7-4 team. But that's just how close the NFC is. But just looking at some of the positives from this game, you got to look at Jahmyr Gibbs. What a historic performance from him. 2 long touchdowns to really save the day for the Lions. And then that overtime, I'll be honest, I had forgotten about the overtime rules. It changed. I'm sure I'm not the only one who kind of just slipped your mind. You're still used to what the overtime rules used to be. Whether you got the ball first or not, it used to be if you scored, a touchdown, you won. So I thought it was a walk-off touchdown at first, and I'm like, wait, did they change the rules, didn't they? Yeah, both teams get the ball. So the Giants did get an opportunity, but man, Jahmyr Gibbs, what a performance today.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, how special he is, and with that being said, for all the flack the Lions offensive line has gotten, it's fair. I mean, again, some of his runs, it was like Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith type runs where he's not touched, for a little bit down the field and then just breaks away. So you got to give the Lions offensive line some credit because they've been maligned a lot lately. And special guy. And you're starting to see a little bit more, David Montgomery is still being used, but not as much as prior year.
Yeah.
The prior year I felt, right. And that's, we all saw it coming because Jahmyr Gibbs is just special and he can house it anytime he gets the ball. But yeah, it's, you mentioned it earlier. I think you sent me a text. It's nice when you have a guy like that who can make up for your struggles, right? And when you're that talented, you can sometimes win games simply on talent. And for the longest time in our lives, since Barry Sanders retired, you can even say Calvin Johnson, but receivers are a little bit different. They didn't have guys like that, that just could take over games, and he did when they needed it most. And give the Lions credit here. I was frustrated. I've been critical of Dan Campbell a lot for all his good that he's done, but give those guys credit for feeding Jahmyr Gibbs the rock. I mean, they could have easily gotten cute and done some things, but they didn't. They just gave him the rock, and because of that, they won.
Yeah, I saw somebody mention it on Twitter, and they were talking about how this felt a lot like a Calvin Johnson Stafford type game, like where they play it's so like not consistent at all, just all over the place, and then they have to make a crazy furious comeback late. They make these unbelievable plays to somehow pull it out. And that's what it felt like. You haven't had a lot of these under Campbell. It feels like when they're the better team, they go out there and they do what they need to do and they handle business. But today, man, they just it was just not a clean game by any means. But again, man, when the plays needed to be made, they were making the plays, and it was Jahmyr Gibbs more often than not the one that was making those plays.
No, and to be fair to them, this to me is more evident of the balance of the NFL than anything. Like things were fairly easy for the Lions the last couple of years. It felt like when you went into games, and again, they went 15 games a year ago. And the previous year, I think went 13, and like, they're just rolling, right? Like this is a challenge. Like this was kind of a gut check time. And like, my emotions, like I said, were going back and forth. Part of me was like ready to get on here and be like, all right, like they're done. This is obvious. Like, all these bad things happened in this game. J-Mo didn't get a catch again. The D-line struggled until the very last sack of the game by Aiden Hutchinson, right? It just seemed all negative. But then the other half of me is like, no, like they haven't had a lot of trials where I felt like it was like a dogfight like this that they had to overcome, right? And and truthfully, even though they didn't beat the Eagles, like the last two games were like that, like that tough, just getting after it football game. Last week was low scoring. This week they had to come back. I mean, like those are all things that helps you come playoff time. And for all their wins the last couple of years, I don't remember off the top of my head games that there were some comebacks, sure, but didn't feel like there were games like this, right, where they were sputtering, right, where it wasn't like
where they're against bad teams.
Against bad teams too, like when they didn't, and like again, like you're not always going to be at your best, right? Sam Laporta was hurt. It was the first time playing without him in a long time, right? And so there was a little bit of an adjustment period, and you could tell, like throughout the whole game, you could tell. And for as bad as their offense, we feel at times like we're feeling that way watching the game. They still had 27 points going into overtime. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like it was a 10-10 game, right? Like going into overtime. So yeah, a lot. When you look at it simply that way, a lot of good. Which if they would have lost, that bad would have been a lot louder right now. Like I was texting one of my other group chats. Like I still can't believe they extended Jameson Williams. I can't, unless they think Amon-Ra St. Brown is not going to be here long term, and then Jameson Williams becomes the guy who's going to catch 100 balls.
Well, I mean, they just extended St. Brown before last season.
That's a fair point. I know. I don't. I'm just that one is gonna. That one I question because again,
I am still baffled about that. I'm baffled by the fact that they used a couple third-round picks to move up to get Tesla. When to me, it's like, okay, then Tesla's going to be the replacement for J-Mo long term, and then they extend J-Mo. It's like I'm a little confused here. Well, it doesn't make sense to me to use that much cap when they're they treat draft capital like it's gold. And to use it to get a receiver when you're already going to extend J-Mo and you've already extended St. Brown, it is baffling to me. And especially now you're seeing it like, man, that third round pick may have been nice to get another guard or interior offensive lineman right now, or maybe a backup tackle.
Sure.
Like they could use some offensive line depth right now.
Well, and one thing that I thought was obvious today too is all the talk all week, and you brought it up last time, was they talked about, okay, how are you going to replace Laporta? Right, is okay. They're going to have to feature Tesla a little bit more, right? Maybe go to some more 4 wide receiver packages and things like that. Well, that's not what we saw. Like there was a lot of block right and Dan Skipper early on in those heavy packages, right? So that said a lot. Now, granted, maybe it was just a 1-game thing, and the next couple of weeks you ease into more of that a little bit to get Tesla on the field. But at least early on, that wasn't the game plan today. And Brock Wright did some nice things. Had a drop early on, But yeah, he is what he is. But it was telling to me that that's what we saw. That was the arrangement.
Well, it's funny though, because it's like we're kind of nitpicking the offense today, and they still went for 500 yards
Crazy.
and 34 points, and Tesla and JMO didn't really do anything.
Crazy.
So it just shows there's just so many weapons on this team, and you have one of, if not the best running backs in the entire league in Jahmyr Gibbs. It's just there just isn't enough to go around. Like, and it makes you wonder why they use that pickup for Tesla. But
yeah, you're right.
Let's go ahead and get into some of the concerns here, Brian. My biggest concern continues to be the offensive line, and it really showed itself early. Awaska, man, at left guard, he's just not. He's not an NFL caliber offensive lineman. He's just not, man. And he's just getting beat right off the snap. And he got beat at least 3 or 4 times today, where if Goff didn't get sacked, he was having to throw the ball away. I think he had an intentional ground in one time. I mean, it was tough to watch for a while. And I don't know how that gets fixed. I guess that's to me, that's a personnel issue. Earlier in the year, it was, scheme and communication issues that they, fixed. But now where you got injuries and Mahogany's out, like these are personnel issues now. And Mahogany's not coming back anytime soon. And they, I don't know, where Miles Frazier is, if he's going to be coming back, or, this would be his first NFL experience when he does get in. So it's looking pretty dicey at that guard position right now, Brian.
And they still ran for almost 300 yards.
I know, but
they didn't pass protect. I guess, you're right. There are concerns. Like, of course, they're not concerns because they were. I think we were pretty spoiled with Frank Ragnow, right? Obviously, and we've talked about that before. And they don't feel very consistent. Like I agree with you there. Like when it's 3rd and 1 or 3rd and medium, you don't feel comfortable necessarily running the ball. All right. They might think different.
I'm not even running ball. I'm not even concerned about the running. I'm just concerned about the pass protection.
Just pass protection. Yeah. And that's something maybe down the road, deeper into the season, into the playoffs, if they get there. And I still think they will. But maybe then that becomes, like you saw a little more of their screen game today, right? The very first touchdown to St. Brown, which was one of our favorite screens. That was called. So maybe more screen game, maybe more quick, things like that instead of that, deeper set type stuff anyway. But you're right. Maybe more, max type protection stuff with Wright and although I'd like Jahmyr Gibbs out in the route, obviously, or maybe David Montgomery, right, in there to help give the line some help. But yeah, man, that's a concern. And unfortunately, it's not like you can fix it. You can just, there's not like they can pick a guy up off the streets right now. It's just switch them up and get better. And
you mentioned the screen game, and JMO is one that I would like to see them get the ball in more screen game. Like, get the ball in his hands. But if I don't know if I don't even think I saw it today. Usually they do at least once, a reverse or some type of end around to get the ball in his hands on a handoff. I didn't see that today unless I just missed it. But they got to get the ball in his hands. He's so dynamic and so fast when he gets in the open field, man. Like, it can't just be him on the deep crossing routes or the fade routes. Like, you got to be more creative and get the ball in his hands.
There's offensive coordinators and so Dan Campbell and John Morton, on your call sheet, you have the special plays where you got guys or like the number of touches, and you keep track of like guys who need to get their touches, right? And I still think we both think he's a guy that needs to get. Everybody thinks he needs to get touches, and they'll tell you that same thing. So, I'd be surprised if come Thursday there's not more of a conscious effort to get him the ball. Because again, you don't think this when you're coaching a game and calling plays, but you did. You extended the guy. He's supposed to be a big part of your offense. You traded up to get him. He's pretty dynamic with the ball in his hands. Like last week we saw the touchdown against the Eagles. Find a way to get him the ball. That's not acceptable. Because there are ways you can, like you said, move guys around, run them on an end around a jet. He's not his body type isn't the type where you can move him around and put him into the slot to get him the ball necessarily, right? He's a little taller, faster guy, so he's on the outside. But is there a concern too with him? I know there's the big deal about St. Brown, although he ended up still having a really big game today. A couple of his drops, right? How it impacted the offense.
Yeah.
That JMO drop on that third down, like I know it looked
That
like the
was
ball might have.
huge.
I just like, dude, like you're getting your chances, man. You got to make plays. Like I felt that too, and again, maybe this was just a letdown week. You know, we talk about it all the time. It's a long year. They're beat up. It's a mentally grueling game. Yeah,
And
but
they did. I mean, they did just play a very
they did.
physical game against Philly.
And you know, we talk about college football being a game of emotion and compared to the NFL, but I'm sure those guys were pretty fired up to go into Philadelphia and say, "Hey, like we're taking it from these guys," right? And so it's very natural and probably a little bit of that letdown today. A combination of all that stuff just wasn't perfect, but found a way to win.
This is your classic letdown game, though. You played Philly on Sunday Night Football last week. You got Green Bay on Thanksgiving coming up in a few days. And then you're playing the Giants, who have all these backups playing. You're at home. You think you're going to – I mean, everybody's thinking you're going to run over them. You haven't lost back-to-back games and since forever, October of 22. So you just – I wonder if that seeps in a little bit. I know these guys are pros. I know they're NFL players, but – they're still human beings. You wonder if that just sips in a little bit where you let up a little bit.
Yep. You gotta, as they say, you gotta win your clunkers and give the Lions credit today. They won a clunker. They didn't win the clunker against the Vikings, but they won the clunker today. And so it still sets them up for a situation again now. So if you can get this win on Thursday and get to 8-4, then you have a week and a half off until you bring Dallas in. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, it's the organization has although I feel like they play the Packers like once every other year on Thanksgiving, but like the organization knows typically how to prepare themselves mentally and physically these next couple days before they play on Thursday. So you got to think the Lions have an advantage, and they understand like this is like you can't lose twice to Green Bay. You lose twice to Green Bay, it's going to be very hard to catch them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other concern from this game, Brian, and it really hasn't been a concern all season, it was the defense. Giving up over 500 yards to a Giants team that was playing with Jameis Winston at quarterback. Scadaboo's out. Neighbors, their top receivers out. I mean, it's backups across the board, and they come out and just torch the Lions. I mean, every which play you can think of, every trick play imaginable they were bringing out was working. Everything the Giants were trying to do pretty much was working for them offensively until the end of the game. I mean, they were able to get the stop late in the fourth quarter, which was a very questionable decision by the Giants coaching staff to go for it on 4th and goal instead of kicking the field goal to go up 6. They ended up not getting it, kept it a 3-point game, and where the Lions were able to drive down. Bates got the 59-yard field goal to force overtime. But for the most part, I mean, the Giants offense was able to do whatever the heck they wanted to do. Like I said, over 500 yards offense at Ford Field. Really, inexcusable for something like that to happen with as banged up as the Giants offense was. To give up that many yards and that many points, man, it's crazy.
You're going to hear all week people are going to talk about on the radio and on social media. Again, the Lions didn't go acquire a defensive lineman, right, to help with the pass rush because their only sack of the game came on the last play of the game to end the game in overtime.
I think it was like the 79th play defensively.
Yeah,
finally got sacked from Hutchinson.
Yeah, I mean, Brad Holmes will be talked about all week with that and not doing anything at the deadline, but. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't one of the better games. And give the Giants credit too. There was some the Lions are still a little bit beat up in the secondary, and Wendell Robinson had the game of his life, and he seemed to be open a lot, ran really good routes. And typically when teams run trick plays, it's because they're outmatched, right? And so the Giants, ran them 2 really good trick plays, and both went for touchdowns. It was just perfect for them, and it just worked out. So. Yeah, I mean, especially
I gotta ask you though. Sorry to cut you off, but when Winston caught that touchdown and broke the tackle of Derek Barnes, it is running down the sideline. Was there a party? I know there was a part of me that thinking, "Oh my, this is it! Like they're done. Like the season's over." Like I thought the game was over. I thought like the season's over, and this is the play we're all going to look back on like, wow.
Yeah, that was
it. It's all over. All over. All those Super Bowl talk, all of it. it's all over. I'm watching Jameis Winston catch a pass and run a linebacker over into the end zone.
There was gonna be a
What is
meme.
this?
There was gonna be a meme somewhere of Jameis Jameis Winston like juking out Derek Barnes and like looking at him, and they're just like, yeah, this is it. And
Trucking them.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
Like,
so.
oh goodness, like because you have to like when Barnes has been in coverage against running backs before, or who, right? Like he's covered better guys than freaking Jameis Winston. That's the crazy part. Jameis Winston came back and made a play on the ball, and then Barnes didn't finish, and yeah, just it was comical. You're just like what? Yeah, this is like the perfect ending. This was like the perfect ending to this game, and they're not coming back from this. And yeah, that was something else. Yeah, I do say I'm not surprised that comes from Mike Kafka. He's a smart guy. I sat with in a meeting room with him before when he was the quarterback coach at Northwestern back in the day. Now the guy's the interim head coach in the NFL, which is pretty awesome.
Wow, it's wild how quickly guys can move through.
Legitimately, it was him and a couple of grad assistants and me talking RPOs like 10 years ago, and now the dude's head coach in the NFL. But they had nothing to lose, and then that fourth down call, like I could be wrong, but okay. The Lions offense we talked about was sloppy all day, not very crisp. Okay. If you score that, or if you kick the field goal, okay, what was it? They were up 3.
The Giants were up 3.
Giants were up 3 and go for it. Like, I wonder if they kicked the field goal and go up 6.
They're going for the kill. I mean, they're going for the
kill shot. Why not? You're 2-9, but even then, if you're up 6, like the Lions had struggled to score a lot. I felt
that was my thought. Like you're forced them to have to go score a touchdown instead of just kicking a field goal.
Yep. And then again, I don't know, you don't get it. Like the Lions are deep in their own territory, but no, I think he was he's calling the game to impress his employer, to say like, hey, this is who I am, and we're gonna go, give me this job. But luckily for the Lions, it didn't work out for them.
It was the same old Giants that they've been the entire year. It doesn't matter who's in.
Things like that.
I think that's the 5th time they've had a 10-point lead in the second half and blown it.
Yeah, So as much as we lament about, gosh, the Lions are they're sloppy, they're beat up, they're injured, they're 7-4, they're not in first place. Imagine being a Giants fan today.
Yeah. Well, they have a few Super Bowl championships.
Sure. Okay.
They can look back on,
and of course,
wipe their tears with those rings if they want to. What I mean? I'll take being a Giants fan over the years of misery being.
I would too. Yep. Yeah, for sure.
But no, you're right though. You're right. I mean, the Lions, they're still sitting there at 7-4. They're still sitting there in halfway decent shape right now.
Yep.
As opposed to the Giants, they're looking for draft picks at this point.
Absolutely. Yep. There's a lot of teams that wish they'd be in the Lions situation right now. So.
Absolutely. So the Lions do get away with the win. It wasn't the prettiest game we've ever seen in terms of just consistent performance. It was a wild one. It was a fun one to watch, that is for sure. But definitely inconsistent play from the Lions. Definitely a lot to take out negatively to kind of look at. But like I quoted the show, a win is a win, and in the NFL, man, it doesn't matter. We talk about in college, and we joked about it. I think last show we did about the quality of wins, the quality of losses.
I was thinking about.
It doesn't matter in the NFL. It's just win or loss.
I was thinking about that today. If the Lions would have lost, but somehow win the next couple of weeks, and then people are comparing, oh, what's their bad loss? How bad are their loss? Like, really, who gives a shit? Like, just crazy.
It doesn't matter in the NFL. It does in college, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But in the NFL, it does not matter. They do not care. Like all they care about is was it a win or was it a loss? And today for the Lions, it was a win in overtime. Thrilling 34-27 win over the Giants, and that puts them in position as we hoped. I think before the season, and as the season has gone along, we've circled this game as the big game of the season. And it is the Thanksgiving game, Brian. It's Lions, Packers, and about as big as you can get. I mean, the Bears continue to win. They continue to stay in first place, but it is an incredibly tight race between the Bears, the Lions, and the Packers. And what a huge game it's going to be this Thursday on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know if you've ever been to a Thanksgiving game. They're pretty wild. They're pretty fun. And I have – it's hard to beat a team twice. It's hard to beat a good team twice in the NFL, which gives me hope for the Lions. As bad as today felt, Green Bay hasn't been world beaters all season either. I feel like other than week 1, felt like.
They look pretty dominant today against Minnesota, but I think that has more to say about Minnesota.
I agree with that. I agree with that. No, I don't know if it's prediction time or not. But gosh, it's hard to bet against the Lions on Thanksgiving when they're decent, right? When they're good. And but going back to it, like you talked about to open the thing you're concerned about, the offensive line. In week 1, right? That's when it you already kind of showed those concerns. We saw those concerns with the offensive line. So curious how in a short week the game plan's put together and what they can come up with to put up a better show than they did today.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I think the screen games, it's got to be a huge factor. It's got to be huge. I mean, the way Green Bay was just pinning their ears back and getting to Goff in week 1, you got to attack him with screen game, like all over the place. Every screen you got in your playbook, man, it has to be in a game plan. I think this week.
Do you know what I thought about today? Speaking of the screens, so I love the Lions receiver screens that they run, right? I'm a big fan of that and the way they do it with the fast motion across the formation. I'm a big fan of that. The Giants versus a man look on 3rd down, they motioned away and then ran an awesome slow running back screen to Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah, he was wide open.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm surprised the Lions don't have more slower developing screens to their backs than they've shown. Maybe they do. Maybe that's just not their personality, John Morton and Dan Campbell, but I'm surprised there's not more of that. Unless they feel like they're not getting blitzed, so they don't need to do it. But no, I think that sometimes helps your quarterback and can help alleviate some of his issues versus pressure, right? As you get that screen and then because theoretically, if you get a screen where a defense is blitzing on Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to house it, and then that makes teams hesitant to blitz more again. So yeah, that surprises me a little bit.
Especially when you got a lineman like Penei Sewell that can get out. I mean, he's as athletic as any lineman in the league. I mean, you'd love to get him out there and in the screen game and be a lead blocker for Gibbs. And those are situations where if Parsons is just getting after it, I mean, you let him get up the field.
This will be a game that if Micah Parsons goes off, right, and the Lions struggle or don't win, I mean, the cat calls are going to be there for everyone. Yeah. I mean, that's that.
Don't you justifiably so? Don't you think?
Yes. Yeah, justifiably so. I mean, the trade deadline or what you did or didn't do in the offseason, and the Packers did what they had to do to get Micah Parsons, and that will.
Well, think about it, Brandon. I mean, the two teams that went out and got end pressure, and pressure ends are the Eagles and the Packers. Yeah. Those are the two teams that you're competing with the most, right? If they lose this game on Thursday, they're 0-3 against those teams.
Yep.
But they're directly competing against. They're competing with the Packers for the division, competing with the Eagles for the number 1 seed and then top of the NFC. And to go 0-3 against those teams, and it could be because of those ends, wreaking havoc in those games. We saw it in the two losses so far. Yeah. Where those ends that got traded for were the ones that made key plays, got key sacks on Goff. So, it's going to be a huge story and a huge factor if they don't win this game. Even if they do win this game and don't, end up making a long playoff run, it's going to come back to haunt them, and it's going to be a negative on Brad Holmes' resume, I think. Yeah, which I mean.
A lot of things can be right at once, and I've said that before. For all the good things he's done, and for all the good things Dan Campbell has done, like you said, justifiably so. Like if Micah Parsons tears him up and the Lions lose, they're gonna deserve some criticism. I mean, the season's not over necessarily at that point, but the season's pretty much over, in my opinion.
Unless they make a crazy playoff run, if they lose on Thursday.
I don't think
they're going to have to go on the road the entire way. They're not winning the division.
No. I wonder if they're a playoff team if they lose Thursday.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And Tennessee is wild. It is so good.
That's what I'm saying.
Deep.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they still have to go to LA, and the Rams are playing well.
They got to go to Chicago to the end of the
Gotta go
year.
to
Like
Chicago.
that could be that could be a game. It could be to win the division. It could be to just get in the playoffs. You're going to go to Chicago and cold weather, which we all know is not very good for golf. Traditionally, not very good for the Lions. Traditionally. So
it's imperative. I think 2 weeks from now, the Lions are 9-4 when we're talking again. It's imperative. That's just reality.
Yeah, this is as much of a must-win as you can possibly have. I think this Thursday. That's why it's so huge. And I mean, but that's what makes it fun. I mean, we've had so many Thanksgiving games where it's just like, hey, this is their one national game, yay! But maybe they'll show up because it's Thanksgiving, but they're not really that great of a team. But the last few years they've been one of the Super Bowl contender, and we have like the biggest, I think, a Thanksgiving game that I can remember in my lifetime, where it's so huge for both teams competing in that game. It's so much on the line in terms of the division, in terms of the overall NFC picture, and for both teams. I mean, if either one of these teams you lose, you could be on the outside looking in on the NFC. That's how balanced and how close this NFC playoff picture is right now. Like, it's every game is so huge and so magnified. But when you're playing one of those teams that are in the mix for the playoffs, it just makes it that much more huge.
One thing, another thing that stood out to me today, on a positive note for the Lions is I don't feel like did they turn the ball over at all?
Oh yeah, they had to pick on
the tip. Yeah, so that was it. And that was a drive killer because that was points, right? But I don't think Goff was as bad as he was last week either. You know what I mean? And obviously we know he plays better inside. He plays better at home. So that you want to take away a positive. He wasn't 13 for 25. With 3 picks. So silver lining.
Yeah, it was inside, and it was against, wasn't going against the Eagles defense. It's going against the Giants defense, but still, like, early in the game, probably more the first half than anything, but it was where the pressure was really, really getting to him. But yeah, I mean, he definitely, I think, had a bounce back game after last week against Philly. But
I think one final thing from an offensive perspective about the Lions in general is, like, you do see more of them under center, right? Play action too with Goff, I think, more this year than just being in the gun. And I don't know if that's a Ben Johnson thing, right? That he's gone, and or personnel thing because of the Laporta injury. But even in general before that, like, I do feel like the Lions are more under center, more play action stuff anyway. So, like, maybe as the season goes on, they're going to continue to rely less and less on Jared Goff, right, and more on Gibbs and Montgomery, and say, like,
Gibbs,
obviously, right, take us to the promised land, young fella, Yeah.
Yeah, but that's, man, you can say so many different ways how not having Laporta is just going to be a huge factor. But I'm just thinking about, like, being under center and how good the running game's been, like, bootleg passes and getting the end out on play action. Like, that's where your tight end is so huge and so crucial in the pass game. And to not have him is, man, it's just, we're going to come back to it throughout the rest of this season until the end of the year. But it is a huge, huge loss to have Laporta out for the rest of the year.
For sure. Yep, for sure it is. It's not, I mean, every team goes through a major injury, but for the Lions, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough.
Yeah, it just feels like he's always that security blanket for Goff. When everything else is taken away, he always seems to be able to find Laporta, especially on those third and mediums or the fourth down plays. We saw it a little more last week than this week, but 0 for 5 on fourth down last week. To me, I think that's directly related to not having Laporta. It's just killer. But let's go ahead and make predictions, Brian. I know you kind of laid out you thought the Lions would win this game, but just in general, what score do you kind of think, and how do you think the game's going to play out?
Oh gosh, I mean, again, they scored 34 points today, and it felt like there was not great. I think it'll be a competitive game. I think it'll be back and forth. Let's say 31-24 Lions.
Yeah, that's in the high scoring, another pretty good one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be a little bit more defensive than like it was in week one. But I think Gibbs is going to make a couple big plays to make the difference. And I'm going to say, I'll say 23-20, maybe a Bates late field goal to win it. But I think it's going to be a classic. I think it's going to be one of those all-time games that we look back on and be like, man, that was a great game. It was a big game, big implications, a lot of build up to it. And I think it's going to be one of those that lives up to it.
People are going to feel really good on Thursday for a week and a half or be miserable for a week and a half. Like, no in between there. Yeah. It's going to be long.
That's the bad part about them playing the first game. It'd be nice if they played the night game because you already have your dinner. True. You already have spent all your time with your family. It's already been a good day.
No, true.
It's either the cherry on top or like, wow, if they lose, well, at least it was a great day with the family.
Right.
If they lose, then it's like you're eating dinner. Everybody's frustrated. You're all bitching and moaning about what happened in the game. The Lions could play a lot of factor in how good Thanksgivings are across the state of Michigan.
That's great. Sure. Which is usually how it works.
Yes, it is. So it also good news this week. Michigan Wolverines. They finally seem to show what they're capable of. And, the big 45-20 win in Maryland. Obviously, Maryland's down. I know it's like 7 straight losses for Maryland. But to go on the road and a game, obviously, you had to have, a lot of times this can be a letdown game. You're looking ahead to the Ohio State game. But, man, they just offensively, they looked great. I think it was one of the best games, if not the best game they've had all year. And without their top 2 running backs, who are both down, Haynes is out the rest of the year. Marshall is questionable for next week against Ohio State. He was out for this game. But they still, they've still able to put it together and put together a great offensive game and win this one 45-20.
Yeah, there's been years before in this rivalry where both teams the week before seemed to struggle and play sloppy against an inferior opponent. But, that definitely didn't happen this game. And, the thing that stood out for me for Michigan is in not just this game, but in the previous couple weeks as well, is Andrew Marsh, their receiver. He seems to kind of be developing into their go-to guy. And Michigan fans we've talked about have been clamoring for that receiver position to really step up and stand out. And, when your identity is to run the football and their offensive line is as good as it is, you can put pretty much anybody back there, it feels like, and they're going to be able to get yards and right. And there's going to be holes that, guys can run through. And Bryson Cudsdale was awesome with a 100-yard game. Yeah. He's a number 3 running back. So
3 touchdowns.
Yeah. 3, right. Yeah. So again, it's funny. Like people talk about going back to the joke with, well, who do they play? Right. And the knock is, Ohio State, they don't have any ranked victories. Okay. Well, neither does Michigan. Like neither does, it is what it is. You play your schedule. And like, that's why as dorky as it is, like people talk about the eye test, in college football is because you don't have the same schedules, right? It's all different and unbalanced and whatnot. But no, I'm more after the Northwestern game I think it's pretty important for Michigan, like to have a game like this going into Ohio State. Not that they didn't think they could compete with Ohio State, because of course they can. But now they're feeling like, oh, okay, see, like we can do some things. It'll be wild though. You think about it. Matt Patricia is coming back as the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, and their defense is awesome, right? Yeah. Best in the country, people are saying, and just loaded with talent, Caleb Downs and whatnot. It'll be pretty wild. It would really be miserable for Michigan area sports fans if the Ohio State's defense shuts down Michigan and it's freaking Matt Patricia.
He's the cure to all Ohio State's ills against Michigan. It's Matt Patricia. He was the one. He was the missing piece.
You're right. Wouldn't that just be something? That would be something. But no, I still think if you're Ohio State, like you're feeling like pretty good going into this game, just like you have. I think last year was the year more so than the previous two, or the previous three, where Ohio State was like, okay, like no, we're better at we're gonna boat race these guys, and it obviously didn't happen. And I go back to last year. I think the moment that really changed that game last year is when Will Howard took that hit. He was carrying the ball. He got popped, and I can't remember the name of the safety from Michigan. So you forget a second, you can look that up. But
Makari, it was Page, wasn't
it? It was Page. You're right, Makari. Yeah, you're right. Yep. And but that changed the trajectory. Like, again, not a momentum guy, but I don't think Will Howard was healthy after that. I think we might have talked about that before. It wasn't 100%. And so Ohio State's gonna, of course, all the most physical team's gonna win, the team that runs the ball. But if Ohio State's receivers are healthy, that's gonna be a problem for Michigan. It just is, because Michigan this year, their defense hasn't played terrible all year. But USC, I think it was the other offense that maybe is as good, really good. And their quarterback maybe threw for 265. And they had a big receiver, Lemon. I remember he had the big game, 9 catches that game and a touchdown. I mean, that's the only other offense I think that probably is comparable to this Ohio State offense, because even their other loss to Oklahoma's offense isn't that's not when you think Oklahoma, you think their defense, you don't think their offense. So if those receivers are healthy, because Tate and Smith have been a little bit banged up, they housed, Rutgers without those guys. So, they probably knew that ahead of time. That is going to be, in my opinion, that's where it's won and lost, right? I know it's in the trenches, all that stuff, but that's where if Julian Sayin has time to throw the ball to those guys, that'll give Michigan some problems. But if Michigan can run the ball and control the clock, right, and not make mistakes, anything can happen. And we talked about it before, and you asked me the question, why is it in rivalry games, right? Why is it like that? Why is not the favorite just, pounding the underdogs? Because, again, you never know with emotion, right? Again, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids walking into the big house on Saturday, and all those people are screaming at them, saying things to them, talking about their mother, their girlfriend, right, whatever. It's different. And it takes special people to play this game and in games like this.
Yeah, and the huge factors, like you mentioned, Michigan being at home, and their 2 losses this year were at Oklahoma, at USC. 2 top 25 teams. Oklahoma's a top 10 team, and those were losses on the road. Whereas at home they're undefeated, and they haven't really played the best competition, as we know, but the defense has been outstanding in those home games. And I don't think they've given up more than 17 points in any game at home this year. And that's going to be a huge factor. And I think Ohio State, it's so weird in this game because with the circumstances, you would think the number 1 team in the country, you would think everything's on the line. But is it? Is it
not?
If they lose, they're just right back in the same situation they were last year when they went, the same spot. They having a home game in the first round, and they went on to win the whole thing. So how much really is on the line? And you brought it up, you've brought it up in the past. Okay, if Jeremiah Smith's a little banged up, how much does he play? Does he play in the game? And if he does play in the game, is he playing every snap? It's his last game, it's for the national championship? I don't know. I wouldn't think so. Because wouldn't you be trying to save them? Same thing for anybody that's banged up for a while.
This is a question, 30 years ago never would have been asked. But I know both sides will say, yeah, this game matters to both of us, right? Who does it matter more to?
Oh, Michigan. It's not even comparable. It's Michigan.
Isn't that crazy?
And I know Ohio State. I know the only reason we're even talking that it can mean a lot to Ohio State is because they lost 4 straight in the rivalry.
Correct. If they were 2-2 the last
Michigan this decade.
Correct.
If that wasn't a factor, had they just beat Michigan last year and we're talking about this game?
Correct.
All of it is on the line for Michigan, and not a whole lot is on the line for Ohio State.
Correct. That, to me, that's the only in theory it means more to Michigan. Win and you're in, right? Ohio State's already in.
Lose and you're done.
Yep. Yeah. Lose and guys are opting out of their bowl game, right? And of course, yep. And they're looking for the transfer portal already. Yep. That is mind-boggling to me. But you're right. Ohio State wants to. I think what Ohio State fans will tell you is, because they always get the question, would you rather have the national championship or to beat Michigan? And I bet you it's split. I really do.
I think it probably was until it actually happened.
But you know what? I bet you they will feel like last year is justified. Like, okay, you know what? They got us last year. We won the Natty. If Ohio State wins Saturday, all will be good. Like whatever happened last year, it's all. I mean, there's no like because I'm sure part of them still
Brian,
feel.
come on. I mean, come on. If they lose to Michigan this year and then just go win the national championship again, who cares? They're not going to care. They're not. I think if you told either one of the fan bases before what happened last season, would you take a national championship or the win against your rival?
But you know what?
It might have been split, but until it actually happened, they actually experienced it, and they lost to Michigan and then bounced back and won the national championship. I think that I can't imagine. I would say probably at least 95% of those fans, if you pulled them now, would say, "Yeah, we lost to Michigan. That sucked, but we won the national championship. We're the best. We're the best team in the world."
But you know what? I want to say, I know we did the deep dive into the 95 game the other night, but I want to say it was the 96 game where Ohio State was up 9-0 at halftime and Michigan ended up winning. Ohio State still went to the Rose Bowl. And it was 96 and won the Rose Bowl, beat Arizona State in the Rose Bowl. And I remember John Cooper accepting the trophy. And I remember whoever I was with, are still like, you can't beat Michigan though. Can't beat Michigan though. I'm like, part of me is like, God, that's all they care about. But I'm also like, John Cooper just won the Big Ten and won the Rose Bowl. That's the only thing that really
they didn't
matters.
win the national championship.
No, they didn't. So, like, would that have solved everything? Like, I don't know. It's weird.
It also was different then because it was just one game and it was a vote. This was a situation where they had to go win 4 playoff games against 4 really good opponents.
Really good teams.
And they won. They won all 4 and won the national. Like they won it. They won the national championship. There's nothing you can. There's no argument. There's no debate. They won it.
No doubt. No doubt. That's crazy that they lose that game to that Michigan team and then go on one of the greatest runs like ever.
I question had they actually beat Michigan, do they win the national championship? Because it puts such a chip on their shoulder and such of like, we have to win it all, or we're going to be looked at as failures, complete failures. Our coach might get fired.
Doesn't have a job.
We don't go win the national title.
There was talk, I remember after they lost, like, is he going to coach in the playoffs? Insanity.
It was. People forget what the talk was after that game. I mean, you could go back and look at it like on YouTube and like all the hardcore Ohio State fans, and the pundits and that they were all saying this is over. This is a disaster. What a nightmare. Like Grinday's got to be gone. He has to be fired.
Yep.
And they go win the whole thing.
Born on third. But I still think here though. I still think there's a segment of the college football fandom that still looks at college football because college football was unique because of the rivalries, right? And because of the geographic setup and all that stuff and who they play and what it means to them. I still think a segment of them think that's more important than the national championship. Because again, remember for years, and we talked about this in like the Big Ten in Michigan, Bo Schembechler used to always talk about his number one goal is always to go to the Rose Bowl. Why wasn't it the national championship? Because he always felt like it wasn't in his control. It was up to a bunch of voters who knows how much football they watched, right? So I still think there's a segment that's like that and cares more about the rivalry than they do winning a national championship. I do. I really do.
I mean, the real old school people, maybe. But it's not. I mean, it's not that way anymore. Like, you get in the playoff, you're in the playoff. Now you're playing for the national championship, and you're playing it on the field. It's not not to the voters anymore. I mean, it's to the voters for like who's going to be the 12th seed, 11th seed. The 2 and 3 loss teams. Yeah. But for a team like Ohio State, like they've already earned their spot. Yeah. Like it's just so wild. It's just so it's so different, and it's so hard to wrap my mind around it. Like it's fun this year still because for Michigan, as a Michigan fan, like it still feels like it's all or nothing because for them it is all or nothing. If they lose, they're not going to make the playoff. If they win, they're going to make the playoff. Yeah. So it still has that all or nothing feel as a Michigan fan, just in the circumstances. But if you're an Ohio State fan, it's got to be weird. It's got to be a weird feeling because you're the number 1 team in the nation. You're undefeated. You win, you're in the Big Ten championship game. But there's a part of you in the back of your mind thinking, if we lose, though, we won't have to play in the Big Ten championship game. We'll get a home playoff game. That's really cool. And we could fall in the same spot where we were last year, which propelled us to go win the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's just a super weird dynamic that I mean, nobody can say that they like this. Like, you cannot like that this is the dynamic of this game where the number one team in the country, undefeated, is kind of feeling like, not that big of a deal if we lose.
I don't know if the players think that, because the players are also like, I don't know, going to a Big Ten title game and playing in the game is kind of cool. Like, I still think they think that. I hope they think that still. I hope the coaches think that still. I don't know. But to your point, though,
they could have the Pat Narduzzi approach.
No, but like, if
you want to play Notre Dame, we could lose by 100. Who cares? All I care about is those last two ACC games, and it proved itself for him. They get smoked by Notre Dame, and then the next week they jumped out 28-0 up against Georgia Tech.
And again, I wonder if how the college football trend is, like, it's becoming more and more like the NFL. Think of all the general managers, right, in college football right now, programs, right? Bill Belichick coming back, because I think part of that is because it is becoming more of the NFL flavor, right? I wonder if coaches are treating the end of the regular season like the NFL. Like, hey, we're gearing up for the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder,
we're going to find out. We're going to find out.
I wonder
Saturday.
if for the teams that know they're in, right? For the teams that know they're in, I wonder if they're taking it like that. If this game is played week 3 of the regular season, not a discussion, right? They're all in. Let's freaking go. Right?
Okay, well, let me throw this at you, because this is a good time to bring this up. This is something I've talked about for a while now, since this new playoff system has come about, because this was the exact situation I feared, is that you would get a game where you got Ohio State or whoever, could be Michigan, but is number one in the country, undefeated, and it doesn't feel like there's that much on the line for them, because if they lose, they don't really lose that much, other than the fact that they just lose the game. That sucks. You lose the rivalry game. But other than that, in terms of positioning and that, it's not really hurting you that much in terms of your ultimate goals of winning the whole thing. What do you think about moving this game to the first game of the year? So the whole off season builds to this game, and it's the first game of the year, and it's going to always feel big because they're both haven't played a game yet, and it's the first game of the year, and you set the stage as the Big Ten. Like, you can make it the week 0 game. That's the first game of the year, is Michigan, Ohio State. I've
never watched this game where it's not like gray out and the leaves are off the trees. You know what I'm saying? And the weather is crisp, or the temperature is crisp. No, I don't think I would like it. I don't. NASCAR has the Super Bowl. They call it the Daytona 500, the first race of the year, and then after that, it's all like, I don't know. I don't think race fans probably feel that way, but I do. No, I like it like it is. It's just it'll where it's really gonna suck is if the one year it's gonna have they play back to back, and then maybe they end up in the national title game, and then people will say, well, that's happened to Duke and North Carolina in basketball. But again, I hate to tell you, to all my basketball friends, and I like basketball, college football is better than college basketball. And I'm sorry. It just is. And part of the reason is because the regular season matters. So, like, all that other stuff, Duke and Carolina played 3 times. Yep. Those games apparently didn't matter until they played in the Final Four, right? Like, that's why it's different. That's why it'll suck for me. The hype will not live up. Like, if Michigan, Ohio State 2006 played in a rematch a couple weeks later in the national championship game, would not have been the same. It just wouldn't have been. It just wouldn't have been the same. Like, that game, the hype for that game was unreal. Let me ask you this too, then, Dan. Okay, what if Ohio State comes out and wins on Saturday, but Julian Sayin gets hurt and he's not playing in the playoffs, or Jeremiah Smith's injury is worse than it is, and he completely jacks up his knee or whatever it is, and he's done for the playoff, and Ohio State beats Michigan, right? Doesn't win the national championship.
I guess, what's your question though? I don't know.
I mean, like, how are they? They beat Michigan. It's not we stopped the losing streak.
Is it worth it for Ohio State to play the guys in this situation?
Like,
that's my point. That's my whole point. Like, I'm Ohio State, and those guys are banged up. I don't think they should play them.
No, that's crazy.
I don't think they should play them.
I think I get it, but I think they're playing. I get it.
I think they are too. but I don't know if I don't know how banged up they are. This is
you're
more
right.
hypothetical.
If they're the more and more the sport evolves into the professional style, you're right. The more and more it'll come to that point where those guys, now we're just going to rest them. Yeah, we'll just rest them. Because you know what? You don't have to play this week. You don't play in the Big Ten championship game, but by golly, we got you for that stretch run in the playoffs. Let's go.
Got you in the playoffs. We got you in the playoffs. Rest up for the playoffs, buddy. Because that's when it really matters. Because this one doesn't matter that much anymore. And again, that's why I bring up the thought of making it the first game. And that's the whole talk, man, for 9 months.
Yeah.
You're looking forward to that first game. It's Michigan, Ohio State, because it's guaranteed to be huge every year because they're both undefeated going into it because they haven't played yet.
That would be pretty cool. Well, it'd have been bigger years ago when like pre-playoff, right? Or even 14 playoff, because the loser is really behind the 8 ball for the rest of the season. So think of all those early Michigan games, right? It's like, think about this, like Miami Notre Dame regular season this year. Notre Dame loses, but not a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? But it's crazy. But now that's another so I was at the Notre Dame game yesterday, right? And they put up 70 on it. God, Syracuse team. And like when you're there in person for college football fans, like they talk about it on TV and sometimes you can't really see it, but like the size of Notre Dame compared to Syracuse, like Syracuse was starting a redshirt freshman quarterback who was on the lacrosse team, right? Like he didn't look like he looked like a JV kid. You know what I'm saying? But Notre Dame yesterday, guess what they did? They passed the eye test, right? That matters now apparently more than them losing to Miami.
It was a good-looking win, Brian.
It was a good-looking win. That game back in August, a lot's happened since then. So really, Miami beat them, but it does. But like
the loss to Miami was a good loss.
That was a good loss.
It was a good loss.
And Miami's loss to SMU in overtime was a bad loss. Yep.
Yeah.
The results
bad loss. It was not a good-looking loss.
The results have to matter. Unreal.
They are going to put themselves in a tough spot. If there's a situation where Miami has 2 losses and they're not in the playoff, and Notre Dame has 2 losses and they're in, that's tough luck.
A committee already kept an undefeated league champion out. The committee might keep Ole Miss out if their coach leaves. Like, what are we doing?
No, they're not going to do that.
I'm just saying. I heard the quote.
I guess maybe if they would have to lose to Mississippi State, then maybe
I'm going to find the
because that would be that. What would it be, Brian? If they lose to Mississippi State, it will be a bad loss.
Yes, that is true. That'll be more important than any of their big wins. Beating Georgia, whatever.
You can't have any bad losses. You can have good losses.
Yes.
Not have bad losses.
Jeez.
Oh my goodness. But we could do this all day, ripping on what college football has become. But what we still, despite all the talk and all the debate that we've had about this, it's still Michigan. It's still going to be Michigan, Ohio State. And it's still whether Ohio State, it matters to them or not. It's still it matters.
It matters. Dan, listen,
it matters to them.
You've experienced it. You and I have experienced this. We've been to East Lansing. We've been to Ann Arbor. We've been to South Bend. I'd love to go to a game in Columbus, right? I'd love to go to a game down south. Yesterday at Notre Dame is the first time my wife's been to a big-time college football game. And, like, literally we're there in the entire first quarter. We're standing for a game against Syracuse. We weren't in the student section, and it's a game against Syracuse, right? And she's like, gosh, do these people stand the whole game? I'm like, this is a pretty big deal. Like, something about college football is different that if like I couldn't explain to my friends in England or Germany or France or they wouldn't.
I mean, it's English,
the soccer, maybe
the soccer is a pretty big deal, man.
Yeah,
they get it,
but I don't know if they would get it from a university perspective. Like this is
not
college,
from that. No,
you know what I'm saying? Like they don't get that. Like the pros.
But if you compared, I've always compared because I started to get into soccer a little bit when all the Detroit teams were down. I was looking for a little something else to watch competitively, and I started to get into English Premier League soccer. And I'm like, man, this all the little traditions and the stadiums and just the chants and the fight songs and all that. I'm like, this is what college football is here. Yeah, so it is. I think if you compare it, like, hey, if you talk to somebody from Europe and said like, hey, college football, if you were to watch college football, it's very, think of it as like English Premier League soccer. That's what it's like here.
I think that's fair.
It's a special thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to be a special thing this Saturday. As much as I kind of talk negatively about it, what college football has done to this, it is still the number one team in the country coming into Ann Arbor, trying to rectify, they haven't beat Michigan this decade. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy to think about. I think it's the last 23 games. Ohio State has won 22, including a national championship game. The one game they lost was to Michigan.
Yeah.
There's so many different stats you can throw out that are just mind-boggling. For whatever reason, Ohio State they just can't beat Michigan. They just cannot beat Michigan right now. And and Michigan's going to have to continue that streak this Saturday to be able to get into the playoffs. And it could not matter anymore for Michigan. Like, this is everything I hoped it was going to be before the season. Like, I thought it's kind of played out how I thought it would. Like, I thought they were going to have 2 tough road losses to Oklahoma and USC, which they did. But I thought, man, if they can find a way to take care of business in the other games and allow Underwood to continue to develop, at some point it's going to start to come together. Their offense is going to start to come together. And it's come together a lot later than I thought it would. But I think it started to come together yesterday in Maryland. And, just at the right time. And they look like they're ready. They look like they're ready to go out there and compete with the number one team in the country. And it's going to be a special game this Saturday, Brian.
A little over a year ago, Bryce Underwood lost in the round of 8 in the high school state playoffs here in the state of Michigan. And he has an opportunity to beat Michigan and establish his legacy for the rest of his life. Yeah. By winning, right? Regardless of what his stats are, he wins Saturday. He's never buying dinner in Ann Arbor again.
Yeah. He's going to be remembered forever. Even no matter how much rest of his career goes, and he wins this game and has a great performance on Saturday, he's going to be remembered forever because he's going to, if he wins that game, he pushes Michigan into the playoffs, and that's going to be the 5th straight win against Ohio State. It's beating the number one team of the country. It's unbelievable. And it feels like it is going to come down to him. And that's a lot to obviously put on a freshman in his first Michigan Ohio State game, but he's going to have to be Superman. Like he is. He's going to have a great game, and he can't have those mistakes. He almost had one against Maryland early in that game. Could have been a pick six. I think it was 7-7 at the time. Could have put Maryland up 14-7. Luckily, the Maryland defender dropped it, and then from that point on, Michigan's offense was lights out. I don't think they punted the rest of the game. They were outstanding. But he's going to have a very similar performance, especially if Marshall's out, or even if he plays. I don't know how much he's going to play. Bredesen, it looks like he may broke a toe or broke a foot or something. He was on crutches at the end of that game, so very unlikely that he will play. I haven't seen exactly what the injury is to him, but I know he was on crutches at the end of the game, and it didn't sound very good. So your whole running back room is pretty decimated. So it's going to come down to that offensive line, but it's going to come down to Underwood's going to have to be unbelievable.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a pretty hyped up week, a big week of football here in Michigan, man. Yeah,
I'm excited. So I think we're talking about maybe having a Saturday show, maybe around 10 a.m. Saturday, do, a little bit more of a deep dive of a preview of Michigan, Ohio State. But on our other podcast, the College Football Retro Show, this entire week, we're going to have a show each night looking back at a classic Michigan, Ohio State game. It's going to be a Michigan, Ohio State marathon. We got 5 different games lined up that we're going to be looking back on. We've already pre-recorded the 1995 game, which is the classic Tim Biakabatuka, over 300 yards, just running all over Ohio State. Kind of a very similar almost. Michigan was a little bit more down that year, but kind of a similar situation where Ohio State was loaded, Brian, undefeated, and Michigan was able to upset them in Ann Arbor. So that was a cool one to go back and look at. But yeah, if you guys get a chance, go ahead and look at our College Football Retro Show this week as we're doing the Michigan Ohio State marathon this week to get ready for Michigan Ohio State week. And so, Brian, as we wrap things up, you had any final thoughts? We had this pretty special week that we're going into. I know this was a week that I looked at, before the year, like, man, football wise, this could be really, really special if things line up. And with the Lions Packers on Thanksgiving and Michigan, Ohio State, with the ramifications of what's on the line, it's a huge football week.
One of my favorite weeks of the year. Yeah, one of my favorite weeks of the year. It used to be this, and I used to love the January 1st bowl games. This week is still a big deal. So, no, it's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot to talk about. Either way, we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Hopefully good things.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully good things. Because if both the Lions and Michigan can pull those games out, man, we got even more big games ahead of us.
And we can't leave our Michigan State friends and my relatives out either. Like
the Maryland,
they got a big one.
Buy one ticket, get 20 free
at Ford Field. And I was talking to my stepfather-in-law, my father-in-law today. I don't know how anybody at Michigan State can look at that situation and say this is good for us and we're okay and we'll get through it and we'll put some money in the NIL and Jonathan Smith will get dude, they're giving away tickets to games at Ford Field. Wild. It's just bad. It's just bad. And the state of Michigan, all the high school coaches are mad at Michigan State for playing this game at Ford Field when it's high school state championship weekend. It is not
so bad.
It's so
such
bad.
A bad look all the way around.
Yeah, no way around it. So we didn't want to leave them out, but hopefully in the years to come, we'll have a lot more to talk about with them.
With Michigan State, yeah. Oh, before we sign off, I did hear an interesting note. I was listening to the Barstool College Football Show last night, and they brought up Michigan State for a second, and they brought up a name that I thought pretty interesting. It was Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, I had the conversation today. Where I said, I don't think Jonathan Smith is just a good fit. And he asked me why, but he also brought up, well, he's also a name that's still, they're talking about at UCLA. When you there's something to be said, unless you're a big name that can recruit anywhere, right? Like Nick Saban can recruit nationally, right? If you don't have those Midwest ties or you don't have those ties in Michigan and Ohio, it's hard to recruit here, right? You know what I'm saying? For example, look at Rich Rodriguez. People talk about the fit, right? His offense, he's an offensive genius. He was one of the innovators of the spread offense, right? He recruited well nationally, Denard Robinson, but he struggled in Michigan and he struggled in Ohio, the Midwest. He struggled, right? Because he wasn't a great
Detroit area.
The Detroit area, right? Yeah, that for a long time, Michigan State dominated, right? That area. Fit is huge with all this if you're not a national name. And so, Pat Fitzgerald, he has obviously some Midwest ties for what he did at Northwestern, and he is kind of a name. I still think he's kind of a name. Maybe not the elite of the elite, but he's still a decent name. Or if he came to Michigan State, okay, I think that could be pretty cool for them. If not, though, just go big or go home. I think at college football is that point, and we can have that talk another time. If you're not all in, you might as well not. I mean, you might as well be that relegation, your English Premier League soccer, right? Not even bother. You might as well be an FCS school. So if you're not all in, it's not worth it. So.
And I want to bring up one thing before we sign off, because we got to talk about this. If we're talking about coaches, the Lane Kiffin situation. This is wild, Brian. For a play, we joked about all of this. If he leaves, to not put him in the playoffs. But assuming they beat Mississippi State, right? They're going to have a home playoff game in the first round, and potentially Lane Kiffin's going to leave before they play that playoff game. How is this even a scenario that can happen? This is ridiculous.
There's obviously it has to be more than just money. Okay, there has to be something going on. And going back to fit and talking about fit, I don't know who he's struggling with relationship-wise there. I don't know if he's not getting what he wants. I don't know if it's a situation. This is what I don't get to. Wherever he's been successful other than the Raiders, right? But somebody's going to pay him a lot of money to come and turn their program around, and then he'll probably leave again in a few years. You know what I'm saying? It's I feel bad. I guess in a way I don't feel bad for Mississippi because they knew this. This is who the guy is. This is who he is. He's Larry Brown. Yeah.
I mean, I texted this to you. I think it was either last week or the week before, and he had mentioned how he kind of has talked about how he's frustrated about kind of the fan base. It seemed like some of the lesser games. I think they're playing the Citadel or something. And it was just kind of half full. The stadium was half full. and they were, I forget what the exact question was, but he just kind of brought it up, kind of as an aside. But it was just, it stood out to me like, yeah. And I texted him, I'm like, this guy ain't staying. Like,
No,
he wants to be at the big atmospheres, the big games. He wants to be at LSU or a Florida. He wants to be coaching LSU at night in the big games. Like, I get it. I understand it.
The unfortunate part, though, is the way the college football landscape is it's not the end of the season. You know what I'm saying?
That's my problem with it.
Yeah,
it's not my problem. I don't have a problem with him leaving to take a better job.
No,
it's the problem that he's stuck in the situation where he feels like he has to do it. He has to leave a team and can't coach in the playoffs.
Correct. He has to leave it because at his next stop, it's going to be like signing days coming up in February, the second one, and the transfer portal, all that. Right. So like he knows if he goes, he's like, all right, I got to go and do this right. But like, yeah, that's brutal. And he knew going to Ole Miss what he was getting into, right? He probably knew it was kind of like that. And yeah, I'm with you though. I don't have anything wrong with if you want to be the top elite, go to those, coach those programs, fine. But
I mean, come on, Brad. Let's be serious. Would you rather be coaching at Ole Miss or would you rather be coaching at LSU?
Of course, LSU is a better team.
You know what I mean? Like, even if you took money out of it, and money's, I mean, LSU looks like they're going to give them all the money in the world. But let's just take money out of it, just in terms of just like, hey, would you rather be a head coach of Ole Miss or a head coach of LSU?
Well, and it's another example as to why we have the transfer portal. Coaches have, they sign a contract for X amount of years, but then they can get out of it, right? Like players that used to be, they were stuck. You know what I'm saying? Or they had to sit here. So, yeah, it's
another aspect of that though. Like, okay, let's just say everybody knows he's going to LSU, right? Kiffin knows, Ole Miss knows, LSU knows, all the fans know, everybody knows. Would you still let him coach at Ole Miss?
I would not. This is different. Okay, I would not. This is a different. No, you're leaving for another coaching job. It's not like you're leaving to be the president of the school or the athletic director. You know what I'm saying? Or you're not leaving for an NFL job.
Or right? Just retire.
Or retiring, like, hey, we're going to send you off. Like, no, we're going to go to you're going to go coach in the same conference.
What if it was an NFL job?
I'd be a little more understanding. I would be a little more understanding. I would. I'd be a little more understanding. You should have I saw, and hopefully it was a legit tweet. Josh Pate, I don't know if you're a fan of his. I'm a big fan of his.
I'm a huge fan of Josh Pate.
Big fan, and he tweeted out 8 hours ago, I know where Lane will be in 2026. All I can say is, in all caps, wow. So
he's gotten a little, I don't know. I don't want to say, but just like kind of jabbing the college football fans a little bit. So I don't know if he's just kind of playing around,
rolling and
joking around, or if, I don't know. I don't know what he was doing with that tweet.
That dude has some connections though, so
I know he does. If he don't, I wouldn't be surprised if he knows. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he's having a little fun with it too.
Yeah, it could be. To your point too. Okay, can relate it back to Michigan, Ohio State. Imagine if Sharon Moore or Ryan Day going into their big rivalry game at the end of the season. You're like, well, are you coming back next year? Like, are you leaving us? Do you know what I mean? Like, crazy.
Yeah. Crazy. But
I mean, Michigan Ohio State is a
little different than Ole Miss.
I know they're bigger. I know they're better. They're better brands.
I'm giving a little too disrespect to Ole Miss, but yeah. I just don't put them in the caliber of the blue bloods. No, you talk about blue blood college football programs. I don't.
Okay, what if it was teams? What if it was Sharon Moore's going to the Raiders? And that's been linked.
Yeah. Or he could. I guess the one team, and not now because they're doing well now, but Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because that's where he went. That would have been the team where I could see. Like, I don't see him leaving any team or for any team other than
Oklahoma.
But I could possibly see it happening. It would be Oklahoma.
Agreed. Yeah.
I don't know. What if he was going into this game? What if it was this week and he was like, yeah, it's looking like he's going to go to Oklahoma. Like, I don't know. I don't know what you do with that. Like, you make Wink Martindale the head coach or Pogge the head coach.
It's because it used to be. It used to be
when not cool. It's not good, man. There's so many things about college football I hate. This is just another one you can throw on the fire.
It used to be when coaches left before bowl game, right? You would have the new staff could come in, right, and then try to get things going right now and coach in the bowl game.
Was
Or
it
you would just
Luke Fickell that did that?
Oh,
With
I'm sure. I mean, it's happened a
God,
lot.
I can't remember.
I mean,
It
it's happened a
was
lot,
somebody
right?
recently that
Yeah.
did that.
Or it happens completely the other way, where you let the guy, like, oh, if a guy gets fired and makes it to the bowl game, like, it's still somebody on his staff doing it, right? But if somebody leaves, right? Okay, so for example, Michigan State '98, Nick Saban leaves at LSU. Bobby Williams and the staff coached the Gator Bowl, right? So yeah, just imagine that happening in a playoff game. Your coach leaves, and then you pick up the pieces. Do they hire a new coach and say, "Yeah, come on in. You're coaching in this playoff game"?
It's so bizarre, and it looks like this is what's going to happen. This is like This isn't like, oh, this could happen. This would be a crazy scenario. This is the most likely scenario that's going to happen.
Yeah. They
win.
A
playoff team that's going to host a playoff game. Is going to be without a head coach.
Yep. Crazy.
You're going to have an interim head coach
and it's good. And the other part to this. So let's say he goes to LSU or Florida. You don't think he's having conversations with those players saying, "Hey, come join me"?
That's another thing.
Trinidad Chambliss, you come join me in LSU or Florida, wherever I end up. Finish out your playoff games important. You make sure you come join me, down here in Gainesville. Ugh, crazy.
Man, it's all about the student athlete, though.
We could write a book. Of course it is.
All about the student athlete.
Of course it is.
Oh my goodness. Well, we could leave it. We could leave it at that, Brian. But man, it's a great week here locally. Great week for football, and man, we like I said, we got the Michigan Ohio State Marathon that we're going to be having on the College Football Retro, and we're going to have another Inside the Coach's Office Saturday morning to preview the game, Michigan Ohio State. It's a special week. And we'll keep you updated here at Michigan Sports Entertainment. We appreciate all you guys following us and listening to us and watching us. And for this week, for Brian Barnes, I'm Dan Murphy, and we'll see you again down the road.